Hi, I'm Stacy from the From Scratch Farmhouse, and today's homesteading challenge goal is to clean out the fridge, the freezers, and the pantry. It's bad in there, you guys, but small disclaimer before we get started. We moved into this house about 5 months ago, and it was not this bad when we started, but I think just over time, I knew that I was going to be completely revamping my pantry, and I didn't have a strong desire to find specific places for all of the things in here because I knew that our family's diet was going to change. We are going to be getting rid of the 25 boxes of cereal and the packaged foods and switching over to more whole foods and ingredients in our pantry rather than prepared foods. So we are making that switch this month. The groceries are on their way. If you want more information about that, check out my blog where I discuss grocery shopping in our new life here. And then also today I'm going to be establishing places for all of those incoming foods and ingredients, as well as making room for the things that we already have. So full tour and tutorial coming up. All right, here it is. See what I mean about the 25 boxes of cereal? What's absolutely crazy is that we recently moved from a tiny trailer into this massive space. I have no idea how we fit it all in there. As you can see, I have plenty of room. I just need to revamp how I organize my things. I'm now going to give you my top 10 tips that I learned while completing this pantry clean out for you to implement in your own space. First order of business, get all of this, stuff out of here. Which brings me to tip number 1. Take everything out, and I do mean everything, down to the last crumb. This will allow you to rethink your game plan without getting overwhelmed by what's already there or how things are already laid out. We are creatures of habit and really need a blank slate to come up with new ideas. Honestly, about halfway through, I almost gave up on this idea completely. I knew my husband would be home soon and I needed to make dinner. I had to continually fight this little voice inside saying, certainly you don't need to take everything out. Let me just say, it's worth it. Just nicely ask your spouse to bring home a pizza or eat up something you just rescued from the depths of your pantry. It will be worth it for both of you, I promise. Tip number 2, as you're taking everything out, sort it out. If you have bins or organizers for things, immediately put them in there. You can see on my island that I have bins ready to go. Having them all in one place as I went through everything allowed me to easily make changes to how I group things or how much space to allow for certain types of items. One side note here is that I'm also keeping in mind what items I plan to purchase in the near future and leave places for those items as well. You might be wondering how I know what those items will be. If you're curious why or how I make a 3-month meal plan and a household inventory of everything I keep or want to keep in my home, I will leave the link to that video in the description. Tip number 3, draw yourself a rough picture of your space and take some time to plan out what makes most sense where. You don't need to write every item down, just a general idea of where certain categories make the most sense. Tip number 4, make sure to check expiration dates and keep a garbage can handy. You might be surprised how many things should just get tossed. Tip number 5, after everything is out, give your space a good scrubbing. Trust me, it will feel so good to have a clean home to put everything back into and make your end result that much more satisfying. Tip number 6, if you are simultaneously planning on making changes to your family's diet or what you purchase like we are, make a special spot just for those items. It could be a basket or a whole corner like I did, but this will ensure that you use those items up without making a special spot for something that won't be bought in the future. Tip number 7, focus on putting items at a height that makes sense based on who is accessing it and how often. For example, I put breakfast items down where my kids can reach them, and recipes I rarely get up tall. One thing I did wrong last time was keeping sweets, scissors, and pens down where little hands can reach. Those are definitely going up tall this time around. Tip number 8, corral like items into bins or organizers. It is amazing how much of a difference this makes. My white bins are from Ikea, and the clear can organizers are from Amazon, and I will link both of those below. Tip number 9, label things. I used a Cricut machine to make my labels, but you could use a label maker or a Sharpie, just so that visually your brain sees where everything lives with a quick glance. Alrighty, here is a close-up of my organizers and labels. I do think that these two things were really what gave me the most satisfaction out of the end result. And in case you forgot what a disaster I started with, here is a before and after. Okay, up next on my list was to clean out the fridge. I took a similar approach here in taking absolutely everything out and giving it a good scrubbing before I attempted to put everything back. All of my tips I just listed work for organizing this space as well. There are a few things worth noting specific to the fridge overhaul. First off, I want to tell you about a mistake I made and later had to correct. I put everything back in and had it all nicely organized and completely forgot that a fridge really needs a space where things can live temporarily. Think that casserole you made ahead of time or the bowl of extra salad from dinner. Those things need a home too. My containers I used to organize the fridge, which I'll show you in a picture coming up, includes an egg drawer that holds 60 eggs, which is very nice if you have chickens, deep, sturdy, and clear fridge containers to separate like items, and produce bins that help keep produce fresh and are easy for my kids to access. They are all from Amazon and linked in the description below. I also utilized my Cricut machine again for this project and made labels. My husband's reaction when he saw a labeled fridge was probably worth the effort alone, but honestly, it makes my type A brain very happy to have things labeled and helps the kids and the husband know where to put things back. If labels aren't your cup of tea, that is just fine too. I won't hold it against you. I'm not going to bore you with the freezer cleanouts. I think you get the idea. Let me just say that yes, labels were involved. Okay, if you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my future content.